Hi, everybody. Welcome to Capital to the Coast BNI. My name is Mike Manning. Each week on the show, we bring you a local small business success story, somewhere from the Triangle of North Carolina all the way to the coast of North Carolina, which includes Wilmington, points in between New Bern, Fayetteville, Greenville. We got them everywhere. If you are not familiar with BNI, it is Business Networking International, the world's largest networking organization. And each week between both regions, the Triangle region and the coastal region, we have 41 chapters that meet each week. And our goal is to help each other grow business. And our local small business success story this week is Holly Schwab. She is the founder and executive director of Zach's Toy Chest. Holly is also a member of RDO7 Professionals in the Peak. They meet Tuesdays at noon at Apex Baptist Church. And folks, we're in for a treat today because we have an actual award winner on the show. Holly, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. So glad to have you on the show. I think you're the first nonprofit in BNI to be on the show. There may have been another one, but it would have been a while ago. But so glad to have you on. It's a great story, and we're going to get into that. But let's talk about the awards you have recently received and or been up for. And let me see if I do this right, and you just jump in if I don't. Okay.
Okay.
So you won the local award CBS 17, the Remarkable Women Award for 2025 for your work in the community and your work with Zach's Toy Chest. And then you were a regional finalist for Next Star's Remarkable Women Award that took you to Los Angeles for the awards ceremony. Did I get
That
that
is
right?
correct.
All right.
You did. It's a mouthful. I know. It's
That's
it's a it's a
okay.
lot.
That's okay. So, here's a funny thing. So, I do a lot of good research on my guests for the show. And so, I'm following Holly through the Next Star Remarkable Women Award website and this, that, and the other, and clicking on links. And I come upon an Instagram post. Now, I don't know if many people know who Perry Gilpin is, but you will when I tell you in just a second. So she is an actress. She was at the event and she shouted Holly out for the work she had done. And if you ever watched the TV show Frasier, Perry was his producer, Roz. And I thought, wow, I know somebody that was shouted out by Roz. So, first of all, let's talk about the any of the awards you get for what you do. Your thoughts on that? I know you're not a publicity seeker, but it's kind of nice though that other people are acknowledging the hard work you're putting into this.
It is. It was a shock. My husband and a few of my board members had nominated me, and they had told me about it, obviously, but I didn't really think anything had come of it. And then I did a show, a local CBS 17 My Carolina show. And at the end of it, they came out and surprised me with that. And
Oh,
being the Raleigh Fayetteville winner was really cool because they had said that there was over 12,000 women that had been nominated across the country, and to be one of the 125 it got narrowed down to was, I mean, I almost wanted to go buy a lottery ticket. I've actually never bought one. So, but it was a really good feeling. It is odd because myself and the other 124 women, the work we do in the communities isn't done so that we can get acknowledgement. It's done because we saw a void and we figured out how to help fix it. And that's really what we want, is to, highlight the work we're doing, not necessarily that we're the ones doing it. So that was a little awkward being the center of attention, but it was also very, very cool and overwhelming in the best possible way.
well, good.
And Perry, yeah, and Perry actually presented me with my award, and
Oh,
she was
wow.
so sweet and so nice on stage. I remember her from Frasier.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, who how can you forget this? Is the quirky sidekick that is always, I think, the
Yeah.
best one.
Yep.
But
I agree with you
yeah,
on that.
and when she hugged me, she actually shared that she had a story about cancer herself, and so it meant a lot for her to be able to present that to me. And I think by them pairing the presenters up with the regional winners with causes that aligned with their backgrounds, I think that it made it mean even more,
Mhm.
if that's possible.
Yep. No, I agree with you
And
on that.
and I mean, and having her hug me, I was just like,
Nice. Very cool. All right, so we're gonna circle back to there are a lot of people affected by cancer. I'm sure you meet them every day when they say you have no idea how close it hits home for me. But let's go back to how Zach's toy chest got started.
sure. So Zach's Toy Chest got started after my oldest son, who is Zachary Schwab, was diagnosed 9 months old. So in the end of February 2008 is when he was diagnosed, and it was a total fluke. I thank God every day that I ended up with strep throat because 2 weeks prior, his cancer was missed by an X-ray at his well check. So it took me getting sick with strep throat, and then my mom and my sister actually took him to our old pediatrician for a checkup because I thought I had given him strep throat. And the doctor felt the mass in his abdomen immediately and thought, this isn't right. We need to do an ultrasound. And that was Friday. It was the last Friday in February. And then that next day we were at Duke. He came home that night. Um, and and there's a picture that I share of Zach and I hugging each other. And it's really the last picture before he started treatment, before surgeries. It was our last sense of normalcy before, or BC, before cancer.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and I use that for a lot because it sums up. I mean, he's happy, I'm happy, but behind the smile, I knew that things were about to change. And he was at Duke for he went through about a solid 18 months of hardcore treatment between the surgeries. He had 3 surgeries, about 5.5 months of chemo. He had 4 rounds of chemo. And like I said, he started before he was a year old. And so not being able to verbalize what's wrong and what hurts and even having to relearn how to walk after his first abdominal surgery was hard. And while we were there, we were very fortunate to have Duke and UNC right in our backyards here.
Mm.
We lived in Cary at the time, and after his initial treatment started, we were able to do a lot as outpatient. So that meant we were at the hospital all day, but we got to go home and sleep in our own bed at night, which if you've ever stayed in the hospital,
Yeah.
you know how awesome it is to go home and sleep in your own bed. Um, and for a baby, they don't have beds. They have these cribs that look like mini jail cells, is what I call them. And I know that they're for safety, but you can't comfort your child in that. Um, and so we were very fortunate. But while we were at the outpatient clinic, we did notice, there was nothing for him to play with. They had magazines for the parents to read, and they were probably 2 or 3 years old. They had one TV cart with VHS, mind you, for every 3 treatment chairs in the outpatient clinic at the Valvano Day Hospital. And I just thought, man, Duke is top of the line for medical stuff. And I guess I just had higher expectations and I didn't think that I would be having to worry about my kid staying occupied while he was getting all this poison pumped into him for his chemo. We were there for 7 to 12 hours a day, every day that we were at Duke, whether it was for chemo, for a checkup, for scans and testing, which he all had to be sedated for. So these were extremely
Yeah.
long days for a baby and then a toddler. And so that's really how it started. We were there, we were in the thick of it, and I saw what was happening and what was missing. And then I just thought, when this is over and when Zach is better, we're gonna fix this. I don't know how yet, but we're gonna fix it. And then in 2009, after he had been given all clear and we could really step back and breathe, I said, we're gonna do a toy drive. And I reached out to someone, and Whole Foods and Cary actually gave us our first start. Is where we did our first official toy drive. in September of 2009. And mind you, for those who have been around for a while, 2009 was a huge recession. Um, and so I didn't have really high thoughts of how this would pan out, but I was shocked and floored. We collected a little over 600 toys that first toy drive, and it was me recently laid off because of that recession. And I had Zach. I kept him basically on my hip at the Whole Foods, and I went and I pulled toys from their toy out and created a display and just talked to people, just talked to the shoppers as they were coming by and convinced them to buy either a toy I had set up or to run across to Target or Walmart and come back and bring me, toys. And I let them know this is where they're going. And that's really just how it started. It's very, very simple. And I feel like simple is best, and I keep it simple today too.
Was the plan to do just a one-off like this?
It was in the beginning, well, I say it was. That's what I told my husband. That's what that's what I told my husband. I said, "Oh, it's just this one time." But when I saw the response and the outpouring, and now remember, I am just a mom with a kid at the grocery store, like a high-end grocery store, but still just talking to people. And I didn't have a bank account. We didn't technically have a name yet. We were just like, "Oh, this is Zach's Toys,
Mm,
and we are taking them to Duke Children's." And when I saw the outpouring and how much people really wanted to do this, people would write me checks, and they had just met me at the grocery store. And my husband always found that fascinating how people would just give me money. He said, "I wonder if they think you're homeless." And I said, "I don't think so."
no,
I said, "I
yeah,
tried not to look homeless anyway." But, no, I said, "I think people just resonate with cancer in general because you'd be hard pressed to find someone who isn't affected from cancer in their family, their
yep,
friends, something." And then when you see it affecting children, it's just another level, because people forget that kids get sick. It's not something we wanna think about, it's not something that we wanna, um, spend a lot of time on if you're not in that world because it's a little depressing. And we've tried really hard to focus on the good work and the good that these toys are doing, and so you don't get bogged down with this is serious, this is
yeah,
literally life or death for these kids. And this Hot Wheels that someone just donated, or this baby doll Barbie, or Black Panther doll, you know, it's so much more than a toy, and that's what we're trying to get across is that, it's more than a toy. This keeps them occupied for hours.
yep.
I can't tell you how many hours Zach did that little Hot Wheels up and down my arms and shoulders and legs at the in the waiting rooms and, on the chairs, and, that $2 Hot Wheel saved me.
Oh, yeah. I
Um,
don't I don't know what the little girl's equivalent is of these toys, but I have vivid memories of my brother and I and our friends way back when, and we had those Hot Wheels, and we'd put the beginning of the track on the kitchen table, run it down, run it through a loop, and then get a up on a ramp shooting up and see how far that car would go. So, oh, yeah, those Hot
oh,
Wheels,
yeah.
they still play today, so I no surprise on that.
And I mean, and I'll be honest, Zach actually still has some of those Hot Wheels that he
Good,
had when he was little because they
good.
are built to last.
Oh, yeah.
And if you buy quality toys for kids, just like you would your own kids,
Mm.
so the kids at the hospital deserve the same toys you would buy your own kids, your own nieces and nephews, grandkids. And in the beginning, we got a lot of we got a bigger quantity, but with less quality. And so when I saw that, I said, okay, well, people obviously want to help. And it sort of snowballed into what it is. I mean, I never pictured running a nonprofit. I never pictured being a stay-at-home mom and having been laid off either, and having to figure out what am I going to do with this kid all day. He's supposed to be in daycare, and I'm supposed to be in the corporate world. Um, And so life has a very funny way of making you take stock and kind of putting you where you need to be. And I have felt very strongly from that first toy drive that this is what I need to be doing. This is why I'm here. And if in my mind, I like to have things make sense.
Yeah.
And so if my kid had to be sick, how can I make that better for other kids going forward is kind of where my brain goes. And I searched hard. I searched actually I did a nationwide search all through United States and actually some places overseas. And I could not find one single nonprofit that did what we do year round. Everyone was seasonally based
Mm.
and it was predominantly around the Christmas holiday. And so my plan had been to donate these toys to a nonprofit that works with Duke. Um, but I couldn't find one that would do it outside of Christmas. And so then I reached out to Duke and we just started doing it ourselves. Um, and then another thing we did was as we realized, hey, this people want to help people. This is something that they want to do. We're not asking them for money. So I think it hit people different. They're like, this is something tangible I can go purchase. Or if I bought too much for my kids or forgot a Christmas present or a birthday present in the closet and it's too late to give it to my kid, oh, I can give it to Zach's toy chest, and make somebody else happy. And I think that the love language of giving
Mm.
is resonates with a lot of people,
Yeah.
and I think they just really like it, and like I said, it just snowballed into what it is, and when I realized how how good it was for the community, we started operating under Duke Children's tax ID. And so then for those people who wanted to write checks or give money, I felt comfortable taking it from them, showing them the letter from Duke Children saying had given us permission to operate under their umbrella. Um, just to keep things transparent, and because when someone's giving you money they worked for, you want to make sure that they know you're a good steward of that donation. And so we've done that from day one.
And was it I imagine it was probably a pretty easy decision for the Duke folks and the other hospitals to latch on to this connection with you.
So it's actually a little harder to donate than you might think. There is a lot of red tape in the nonprofit world. And something that was surprising to me is that it actually costs to be a nonprofit. You have to pay and file paperwork that is probably about as thick as some of my college courses. And, you know, it's one of those things where there's a few rotten apples that kind of ruined it for the majority of us, and it's that way across the board with anything. But because of that, there's all this red tape that you have to do, and you have to have your paperwork lined up. So you have to get incorporated with the state that you live in, and then you have to get your 501(c)(3) if you want to accept financial donations from corporations. And I'm just going to use Safelite Auto Glass as an example because they were the first corporation that got behind us and supported our mission. And they started with doing toy drives and hosting them at all their locations across um, central and eastern North Carolina.
Wow.
And yeah, and it was a big deal because I was like, well, everyone knows Safelite. And so I felt if they believe in me and what I'm trying to accomplish, then I'm really on to something. And then they wanted to give us money. And so, in order to do that, we had to take that next step and come out from Duke's umbrella and do our own 501(c)(3). So, we've grown in stages over the years. So, the first toy drive was in the fall of 2009. And so that was 16 and a half years ago now. Or no, 15 years. Um, 15 years. Yep, because we are in the middle of our 15-year anniversary. And, it's just really wild to think that that it's been that long too. So, yep, in April of 2011, we got incorporated with the state and Miss Elaine Marshall stamped my paperwork.
Very
And
nice.
then I know, and then we grew again, and the spring of 2014, we applied and got our 501(c) status with our first try, which I was told is pretty unheard of to not get it pushed back for some clerical error. But I was pregnant at the time with my second child, and I worked very hard to fill that out. Um, I was told it was gonna be between 2 and $3,000 for somebody to do the paperwork for me, and I said, "Well, I don't have that, and I'm not paying someone to do paperwork." That was the craziest thing I'd ever heard. Um, so I just started researching, free law clinics, and I came across Duke has a free law clinic, and so I utilized that to my advantage, and the lawyer is a student that was about to graduate, but of course, they have people who manage their work, and he filled out the legal jargon. I filled out what I know, the mission, the vision, the work we do, who our board members are, and what everyone does, and where I saw us going. And so together we got it done, and it got approved, and it's been great. And now in 2023, we started filing our first full 990s. So we are laying the groundwork to grow again and to actually keep up with the growth that we've had. And so we'll be able to start applying for grants and things of that nature to bring in hopefully some more financial donations now that we are at 4 major hospitals, about to be 5. We are getting ready to expand to Wilmington. And
Oh,
that
congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. It's under Novant Health,
Yep.
and UNC is tied to that as well. Right now, the kids in the coastal counties that would go to those clinics don't have anywhere else to go, so they'd have to come all the way to the Triangle, and that's 2+ hours depending on where they are along the coast. And so we're about to take that on and make that another um, part of our routine hospitals that we serve all year long.
Very
And
nice.
so right now, yep, so we started at Duke, and then we went to James and Connie. Well, actually, before it was James and Connie, it was the Brody School of Medicine as their outpatient hematology oncology clinic for the kids. And then Greenville got James and Connie Maynard, I want to say about 7 years ago, because they didn't have a children's hospital either. So if you think about it, Duke and UNC saw all these kids from all over the state and outside of the state. When Zach was in treatment, we met a family from Australia that came all the way from Australia because Duke was doing something with their kids' specific kind of cancer. And so I highlight that we are local and everything stays local. So if we are collecting the toys and the funds here in this area in the triangle, I work my hardest to get those donations to Duke, to UNC, all the outlying hospitals and clinics that they serve, Wake Med Children's Hospital. And then if it's donated east of I-95, those toys and funds, we try, like I said, we try. We can't, it's not 100% what goes where. However, we try to keep it that way. Those toys and funds go to the James and Connie Maynard and the Birdie School of Outpatient Medicine for the kids, and now Wilmington. And it's really cool because before I told Zach this, he didn't tell me that he had made his decision. So Zachary is now 18 as
Wow.
of April 11th. No, nothing makes you feel older. You're like, how am I still 25 and you're 18? But yeah, so he decided to accept his a seat at UNC Wilmington. And so I just felt again, God was like, hey, this is what
Yeah.
you're supposed to be doing. So now you have another reason to go to Wilmington, not, for your kid and those other kids. Um,
And when you get
and
to that,
so
yep. And when you get to that point, you and I can have another conversation. We've got 8 chapters in the Wilmington region. Definitely want to connect you there. We've got one in Greenville, we've got one in New Bern now, and one in Fayetteville. So
awesome.
yeah, happy to have another conversation with you to connect that.
I
Um,
would love that.
yep. So yeah, and like we were talking about earlier, cancer does hit a lot of people. I lost both my folks to cancer, and my wife and sister and her sister are both breast cancer survivors. So it's I won't say it's everywhere, but it feels like it's everywhere. So with all this going on, it's brand new to you, things getting moving, it's a great cause, you're pregnant with a second baby and all this stuff going on, and was there ever a, "I just either don't wor not worth it or can't handle it or don't know where to go from here" moments?
Oh, all the time. I'd be lying if, and I feel like anyone would be lying if they said that thoughts of doubt, whether self doubt, doubt in other people, doubt in abilities or skill sets, doesn't hit you. I feel like it's just human nature. And especially when you're passionate about something and you really care, you want to make it the best you can. And so I feel like there's always that pressure. And I mean, there was times, so I'll share with you a little bit when, so we moved from Las Vegas. Zachary was actually born in Henderson, Nevada. And when we moved with my job at Sprint, we transferred. And so I had been trying to get back to North Carolina, to be closer to my family. I'm originally from Bertie County, which is in eastern North Carolina, and I went to ECU, which is why I have strong connections to the eastern part of the state as well. But when we moved and we had all this stuff happen, um, my thought was, am I doing what's right for not only my family but for the kids that I'm trying to serve? And when Zach was diagnosed, we were in a home, an actual individual house in Cary over on the Mooresville side. And when he was diagnosed, we realized very quickly, um, things have to change. We have to tighten our belts. My husband was actually fired from his job for taking off for Zach's surgery, his first surgery. His employer at the time did not care and told him he could resign or they would have to fire him.
Ooh, I didn't know
And
you could
as
do that,
a
Holly. Huh.
it's I think because he was in his first 90 days as a new employee, there was a lot of room there. And as you know, North Carolina is an at will
Mm,
state. And so it hit my husband pretty hard when that happened to us. He is a Marine. He was stationed out of Cherry Point. He was a jet mechanic, Harrier mechanic for before and after 9/11. And so he had never been fired. He has a very high standard of his work ethic for himself and other people. And so it hit him hard, but I had to tell him, hey, we're in for the fight of our lives right now. We'll worry about this other company later. We can't spend any energy on them. No mental energy, no physical energy. It's all got to go to Zach. Um, and so when that happened, we decided as a family that we were going to downsize because we needed to save money. And so we moved into an apartment over off US 1 and 64 area, like Crossroads area of Cary. And this is like funny, but not funny at the same time because during those first couple of years of toy drives, it ended up looking, we actually had to create a walking path through the apartment. And my husband said, you said this was only 1 year and you lied. Um, and he would give me a hard time, but he would always help. He would do whatever he could because he knew how important it was to me and how important it was to the families that we were helping. And so he's giving me a hard time, but I feel like if you don't give each other a hard time in marriage, then
yes.
and if you're both in on it, it's fine.
Yes, I agree.
And we are actually, I just realized it. This week, Friday, is my birthday and also our anniversary. 21 years. And so we've been giving each other a hard time for more than 21 years now.
Well,
But
happy early birthday and happy early anniversary. Congratulations. Now, I will tell you, 21 years to me, that's young love, Holly. That is young love. So,
well, that's good. I mean, my parents have just celebrated 52 on
yep.
April 1st. And so I always say, oh, just two fools in love.
Yeah, we're coming up
Because
on
they got
30.
married on
Yeah.
April Fool's Day.
Yeah, there you go. See, and you can always remember when the anniversary is, right?
Yep, and he got lucky, only having one date, my birthday and our wedding,
Yep.
because that's the only date the Marine Corps would give him off before his last deployment. And
Ah,
so we
okay.
just made the decision to get married because it turned out to be good because he wasn't here for our scheduled wedding. He was in Iraq again. So it worked out. But, you know, speaking of like those moments of doubt and questioning myself, when I looked at my I don't know, 750 square foot apartment, and we had a walking path down and stuff, and then we ended up having to rent a box truck or a U-Haul to take everything. I thought, well, this is really good, but we've got to make some changes. And so over the years, we've had years of growth, and then there's been times where I've had to make peace with just maintaining, keeping the status quo, such as years I was pregnant, because now we have 3 kids. And, and when you're pregnant and you're trying to do a lot, or if there's an injury or a health issue, you just can't. And I've had to make peace with that here and there. And, and then start to rely on other people. So I've had to really start building my team, building a very strong board of directors. And that makes a whole difference too. And when I have those moments of doubt, um, I've gotten very good about sharing things with my directors and with my board, and getting the feedback, because the whole point of a board is to surround yourself with people who have skills that you don't have and who are smarter than you, in my opinion, because you can't do everything and you can't be great at everything. And I have a vision and I have the passion, but I don't always have the skills that I need to get things done. And so I've been very strategic in who I brought on my board. And actually, another BNI member is on our board now, and she just started on March 1st, and that is our president for my BNI chapter is Chanel.
Mhm.
So,
Saw her the other day. We had lunch together in a meeting. So, yep, we talked about
yep,
Zach's toy chest.
I mean, she's smart. She's got the legal know-how, and she just brings a wealth of knowledge
Yep.
to the table. And it's nice to have another woman. I had
Mhm.
another female board member that had to roll off about a year ago due to her family and work expectations. And so it was really nice to be able to bring on another female powerhouse of a person that can help me get stuff done.
Yep.
And so, yes, I do have those moments, but I try to just remember it's human nature, and that my mission is bigger than myself. It's bigger than Zach. It's bigger than our family, and it has been for quite a while. Especially since he is 16 years cancer free. It hasn't been about him or or us at all for quite a while,
Now,
and so I
yep.
just try to remember that.
Yep. All right. So let's go back in time a little bit. All right. So
Okay.
let's give your husband Adam his moment in the sun. All right. So I always enjoy asking my married guest 2 questions. How did you and Adam meet? And do you both tell the story the same way?
I think so. So I know the first time we saw each other was in a hallway my dorm room, actually, at ECU. And so my roommate had found him and his friends the night before, downtown. And when I came back, I came to a dorm room full of Marines, and I was like, "What is going on here?" And then when I truly saw him for the first time, he was walking down the hallway with cheetah print board shorts. Now, I'm sure you can imagine people's expressions in Greenville, North Carolina, seeing some boy in cheetah print board shorts. They're like, he is not from here, um, not from here at all. And he was just so comfortable with himself and just so laid back. And we became best friends. And then each time he was deployed, we would write letters. And so we got to know each other really well. And in the very beginning, he actually liked a girl that lived a few doors down from me in my hall.
It's always the
But
case. Yep.
yep, and I think he tells that same story. He's like, "Yep, she was sitting in the hallway talking to some other girl on her floor, and he came down, and I couldn't help but stare because, again, those loud cheetah print board shorts." Um, and I remember he tried to make me wear board shorts. He gave me some, and I said, "I don't show my knees like this." I said, "I don't wear board shorts." I said, "This is definitely a West Coast thing. It is not Eastern North Carolina." So, and I want to say he still had those board shorts until just
Mhm.
a few years ago. I made him get rid of them because there was a hole in them. But
Yeah. See, we still like hanging under our clothes, even if they have a hole in them. But so where was the official first date?
ooh, So he had this thing that he would say, "Well, when are you going to ask me out?" He would not ask me out, and it was hilarious. And I said, "Boy, if you don't just ask me out," um, it was hard to say because we spent so much time together, and we really were best friends. And I feel like that has served us well as creating that
Mm.
solid foundation because if you aren't best friends with your spouse, then you're missing out. Because in order to keep growing together, even though you're growing at different paces over the years, um, I feel like that was key is, having that solid foundation. And I want to say we went, I don't know if anyone's familiar that's listening, but Hams used to be downtown Greenville. It is no longer there. But he took me out to eat, and I know for a fact we went to Buffalo Wild Wings quite a bit because it used to be downtown, and my dorm was 200 feet from downtown on Fifth Street, so everything was very walkable. But yes, I still have the toboggan. I call it a toboggan. He calls it a beanie,
Yep.
snow hat, however people say it. I say toboggan, but he would crochet them when he was overseas. His mom had taught him how to crochet, and
Wow.
so yes, he is. I mean, he is the crafty one. He's made us a bedspread. He made a quilt from scratch. He made toboggans with the little pom poms on them, and all his Marine friends made fun of him
Oh, yeah.
until they saw it finished, and then they all wanted one.
Yep.
But it's something that he did to soothe his mind and to, keep him calmer when he was deployed in these active war zones. Wherever the Harriers went, he had to go. So sometimes he was on a naval carrier, but a lot of times he was on land in Iraq and Africa and places that are not where you normally want to be.
Well,
So
glad he wised up and finally probably casually, unofficially asked you out to get you at least to the dinner. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
all right. So let's go back to East Carolina. You got a BS degree in marketing from ECU. At that moment, what was the plan?
Oh boy, at that moment, I my plan was to work at Sprint, just like my parents both had, and just like I have an aunt and uncle, and they started at Sprint, and then they retire from there. And in my mind, you get a good job, a good corporate job, and you stay there until
Mm,
you retire.
yep.
That was my mindset, and that was my goal. And so I worked hard. I did Alpha Kappa Psi, which is the business fraternity. It's co-ed. Had a lot of fun doing that. Got to know a lot of people. Networking. That's where my love of networking started. Was in college. Obviously, I'm a talker, and so it served me well. I really don't know a stranger. I'll talk to anyone about anything, even at the grocery store, and my kids despise that about me. They're like, "Oh my gosh, mom, come on." Um, but it has served me well, and so it really started at ECU, um, being in the School of Business, taking advantage of what I had been offered. I knew from a very early age that I wanted to do marketing. I love that part of it. All the other parts of business just seemed stodgy and boring to me, but marketing was always exciting, and it was always like the part where you weren't stuck in an office all the time. You got to be out in the community and out with people, and that always appealed to me. And so I looked for aspects of that in any job I've ever had.
So how did BNI enter the picture?
Oh, wow. So BNI entered the picture. I had heard of it, but I had never went to anything. And then a few years ago, I made a commitment to myself. I want to say it was 2021, as everything was coming out of the pandemic.
Mm.
I said, I am going to get back out in the community. I am going to commit to networking in some group at least once a week. I'm going to visit. I'm going to see what's going on. And I actually went to the Triangle BNI site and I saw the different chapters and I saw which ones were in person and I targeted that and I laid out my calendar and I said, okay, I've got these. I'm going to these chapters on these dates and I'm going to see what it's about. And I visited several chapters, and then when I visited the Apex group, it was not a chapter yet. It was
Mhm.
in the beginning stages of being formed, and so there was about 6 or 7 members that decided to start at the core group, and then they were meeting every week, but they were slowly trying to build the team, build the group, and I just fell in love with the members that were there. I felt comfortable. I could be myself. I didn't feel like I had to put on a show. I could show up as Holly, and that was good, and it was everyone clicked, and it was just really nice, and it's just a sense that when you feel it, you know it, and it's kinda sometimes hard to describe to somebody, but I tell every visitor that we have, I said, "Visit all different chapters because you will find your group, and when you do, you will know
Mhm.
it." It's just a sense of belonging and, and that peace that comes with knowing you're surrounded by good people.
And I would
So,
imagine as you're out and about, whether in BNI or not at a BNI event, and people ask you what you do and you explain it to them, there's probably a great awe that they have. It's like, and very impressed and stunned. And most people are like, I could never do what you do. So thank you for doing what you do.
I appreciate that. I don't know if anyone's ever been in awe of me, Mike, but, or at least
I,
not that
I
they've said, but
I would beg to differ. They may have not articulated that, but I bet some people when they realized what you do and how you do it, and I mean, you're still bare bones, right? I mean, you're not a
yeah, I
wealthy
mean, we
nonprofit
are
that's got millions coming in all over the place. I hope you get there one day, but when they stop and think about what you do and how it started, yeah, I think you're getting more kudos. They may just not tell you that.
well, that's good because my husband will say, "Well, you don't wanna make her head too big."
No, no, that's what spouses are for, to keep each other in
Yes,
check. So
gotta love
no,
it.
I'm with you on that. So, how can so give us the website and tell us a couple of the ways people can help.
Sure. So the website is zachstoychest.org, and it's ZACH. So you can remember Zach's with an H, like the hospitals. Some
Ah,
people spell it wrong, but ZACHSTOYCHEST.org. And on the website, you can, as we've tried to make it very easy, we've got the 3 T's: time, treasure, and toys. And so each way of giving back and supporting Zach's Toy Chest is equally as valuable. I stress to my board that we are not ever going to focus more on one aspect of that as more important than the others because time is essential. People might not have money, but they have time. And if they have a skill set that is useful for us, for volunteering, sorting toys. Um, it could be someone, our bookkeeper donates her time and talent, and that's her strength, and that's what she can do for us. And so that has saved us a lot. I mean, it saved me, gosh knows it saved me a headache. I mean, I have done fuel accounting in the past at McCarran International Airport, but I don't like numbers. Just because I can do it doesn't mean I want to do it.
yes.
And so, somebody that has a professional in the community that has a skill that we can utilize like that, or um, stay at home mom, or church group, school group, a business. So we have corporate volunteer days where people come and they're sorting the incoming toy donations. That's all valuable to me because otherwise it'd be me out there doing it by myself. And as we've grown, that's gotten very hard to manage. And so another way is toys. Obviously, we have toys on the website. We've worked with all the hospitals independently and gotten very detailed items that they are looking for routinely. And so that's how we created our list on the website. And sometimes I've had to delete something or add something, but I think that keeps it fresh and that makes sure that we're giving the hospitals exactly what they need as long as people donate those things. And
And you don't
then
have to live here to donate to you.
no, you don't. I'm actually in the process of trying to figure out how to add our Amazon. wish list to the website somewhere, because I've gone through and I've created wish lists based on age groups so that people can do that. And when they buy from our wish list, it actually ships directly to us. And so that's, and you can also do it from Walmart or Target or any toy store. You can ship it directly to us, um, anywhere in the world.
Very impressive. And you have a golf tournament coming up, and I wish I could be there. We had already scheduled a trip to go to Texas to see my wife's family, but you have a golf tournament coming up.
I do, I do. It is May 5th. We've just extended the deadline to give people a little more time to May 2nd. So that's this Friday to sign up. And we're actually extremely excited because this is and the first time, this is our seventh tournament, but for the first time in 7 years, we have a sponsoring tournament, sponsoring um
A title
what am I trying to
sponsor?
say? Yes, sorry. I was like, sponsoring sponsor. But yes, a title sponsor in the Apex Rotary, and they
Nice.
have been amazing. And then some of our BNI family is in that Rotary, and so I love the crossovers and how we're all helping each other.
Mm.
Um, and so they donated that top sponsor level, and so gave them naming rights. And actually, I'm getting the signage printed this week to pick up. We've got a local company who donates their time and talent for that, for the signage. Um, and then when we've made these partnerships in the community, because I am very heavily like, I believe in my whole being that you have to never be transactional when you run a business, whether it's a nonprofit or for profit business. If you're not relationship based, if you are solely transactional, then you will not do well. And that's just how I feel. And that's how I approach Zach's Toy Chest. And my board is trying to get me to think more like a business, because I am very frugal and it's very hard to get me to spend a penny. But when I do, it's going to be impactful and it's going to mean something because again, I want people to know that when they donate their hard-earned dollars to me and Zach's Toy Chest, that we are good stewards of every penny that they give us. And right now we are still 100% volunteer based. We haven't hired anyone. In fact, the only person we've ever paid was the accountant that did our taxes for the 2023. And now that company is doing them for 2024, also a BNI company, because we've built that trust and got that relationship going. Um, but we want to be able to pay someone, and my board has so lovingly pointed out, no one's going to do this work that I'm doing for Zach's Toy Chest for free. And so they are trying to get me to say, hey, when you're ready to retire, long, long, long in the future, when you're ready, we have to have an idea of what are you spending, because
Mm.
my family has personally paid for all the overhead for Zach's Toy Chest up until about 2 years ago. About 2 years ago, I just couldn't afford it anymore, and it was a great problem to have because we've had explosive growth, and it's allowed us to do so much more, reach more kids in more hospitals. But again, coming from no income for that, we've had to say, okay, well, now we need to start asking more for financial support as well to support injecting organization into the nonprofit. So we are laying the groundwork to not just be here for another 15 years, but to be here until we're not needed. So until there's a cure for cancer and there's no kid in the hospital for it, we will be doing what we're doing.
Yep. So we've been during the show here. We've been putting Holly's phone number up there, website as well. So please, if you can donate time, treasure, or toys, please do. It goes to a good cause. If somebody listening, Holly, has thought about starting their own nonprofit, what's one or two things they need to kind of start doing first to see if there's some legs to this?
So first, I would say dig deep and really think about who are you trying to help? What are you trying to do to get there? Which and work on your mission. What's your mission and what's your values? And do the research. Make sure there's no one else already doing it. Because if there is, why are you going to recreate the wheel? You know, um, don't be afraid to ask for help. And there are So many resources. I take advantage still to this day. I take free nonprofit classes through Mission Triangle here in the Triangle area. They have one on the eastern part. Um, I've met their counterpart there, and they've also got one in the Charlotte part of the state. So it's free nonprofit training for nonprofits. Um, and so there's that, do the research. Like I said, I found Duke Law Clinic who helped me file my paperwork, and I saved a good $3,000 for not having to do that. And so they will also help make sure that everything's in place. So you have to first make sure you have a viable idea and that no one else is already doing it. And so do your research, reach out for help, and then just trust your gut. You really have to have a passion for this work because it is exhausting sometimes. I am very guilty of getting in very deep with our families that we serve. I started doing this and it's become a part of Zach's Toy Chest now. But when Zach first got better, I left my name and number at the hospital for families to reach out to me if they wanted to see and talk to someone who had been through what they've gone through and we're on the other end. Because when Zach was sick, there was no light at the end of the tunnel. Everyone was in the thick of it with me. And that made such a difference having someone who had been through it, seen the challenges, and is on the other side. So, you just really have to be in it for the long haul. It's not for the faint of heart.
Well, folks, if you really want to be a helper, there's a number of ways to do this, both locally and out of the area. So go to zachstoychest.org. Look through that, see how you can help Holly. Wonderful story, Holly. Uh, with kids, I mean, you just want to help because you feel so bad for them. They're young, and like I said, he couldn't talk yet, and he didn't know. But love the work you do. Congratulations on your awards; they're well deserved. And I hope the weather is spectacular on Tuesday, May 5th for your golf tournament.
Monday,
Oh,
May
Monday. That's
5th.
right. Monday. Sorry. Monday, May
I
5th.
can't do it on Tuesday because that's when my group meets.
I know. Yeah. So Monday, May 5th. If you need to play some golf or you just want to show up and help and donate something, please go. Which golf courses are you playing at?
So we are going to be at the Preserve in Chapel Hill. It's right past how it's right off 64,
Okay.
right past Jordan Lake.
All right, folks. So hit her website. Plenty of ways to help. Holly, thank you for being on the show today. And again, congratulations to all the donations you've gotten for all those kids you've helped.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been so fun.
And we'll see everybody next time on Capital to the Coast BNI.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com and DeltaForce.net.